serious. Have you ever known someone who wholeheartedly believed that they were Wolfkin, a vampire, an elf, had special powers, and couldn't handle the reality that they weren't when confronted? What happened to them? Unfortunately, yes. I met a girl at a very young age while going to church. Her family was deeply religious, but in a messed up way. So we dated off and on. And after high school hit it off pretty strong. She honestly believed she was a fairy. She would get faced with the reality of not being a fairy and completely shut down. Sometimes even attempting suicide. Found out later she has really bad schizophrenia and had to get away from her after she discovered drugs, and I couldn't help her anymore. That's really sad. My cousin, she 100% believed she was a werewolf. She was finally diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar years ago. She's doing a lot better now. There's a theory that some reports of werewolves and monsters are because people were unable to comprehend the illness they had. They would have a sense of self and an awareness that something was wrong, but being unable to diagnose themselves would concoct a monster as being ill. It would make sense finally why they were changing, so glad she's better. Also, there is a theory that folklore tales of changelings is essentially trying to come up with explanation of non-neurotypical behavior and, sadly, come up with excuses to perceive and treat such people as non-people to the point of banishment and killings. My cousin always had an active imagination, and kind of lived in her own fantasy world. She was diagnosed with autism as a child, then schizophrenia as a young adult. She's doing okay, but not great. My best friend in high school and my first 2 years of college genuinely believed that she could not only speak to forestry, but that she was a wingless fairy. She would oftentimes, when we went walking her dogs, lean to trees and translate for me what the rustling of nature spoke of. She also would scribble in her books what she called new alchemy, violently scribbled circles and odd shapes she believed held magical and fey magic throughout her own powers. We had a falling out after a few years, after she moved to the other side of the country to be with her grandmother. We started talking about a few months ago and I found out she had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. She is currently on 2 types of medication, and she told me her walks are depressingly quiet now. And that's the saddest I'm gonna be today. Thanks Reddit. That made me sad. I hope she finds a balance between the 2 worlds. Modern medicine found a way to kill demons. Kills the angels and fairies too, I guess. Knew a guy that swore that he was a reincarnated kitsune spirit. He and I got into an argument one day and he swore that he would destroy my life, because kitsunes never let go of grudges. Mythologically, kitsunes were described as being especially capricious. He ended up telling a bunch of lies about me to everyone he could. Gaslit another friend into cutting off contact with me. And occasionally I'll run into someone online that fell for one of the many stories he made up about me. Sounds like he did what he said he'd do. Which doesn't make him a fox spirit. It makes him a creepy, vindictive asshole. Which is exactly what a kitsune is. Checkmate, unbelievers. So all I'm getting from this is he's proven his point. In high school, I received a note from another girl asking if I was a vampire, and if I was to please turn her into one, too. I'll chalk that up to her taking a fantasy a little too far. But I've always wondered just how serious she was. This is the post I was looking for. Same thing happened to me. I had 2 girls in senior year ask me if I was really a vampire. One of them seemed really into the idea and other one seemed genuinely afraid. In both cases I couldn't stop myself from laughing and said, I just really like wearing black. These sound like Twilight fantasies. They wanted you to sparkle. He should have went to school with body glitter on during a really sunny day. My former friend Mark, who ran around at night naked thinking he was a werewolf. He stopped when he was shot in the ass by a paranoid farmer. Small town thought Mark had too much time and energy, and so they had him join the football team. I don't think he runs around naked anymore, but he works as a vet and helps raise wolves. Who knew getting shot was a wake-up call? I also have a cousin who got shot in the ass with a BB gun. He's now a retired Navy and is teaching guns and gun safety. Went to school with a girl who acted like a dog. Barked, panted, pawed at people. In class she would reply normally but then bark at the end. This went on for 3 years. Decided to look her up on FB, and she has a good job and seems normal. Teenagers are fucking weird. Was it an actual bark sound, or was she like Thomas Jefferson was the 3rd president? Oh, and woof. She went fully into character. She started out with pitiful yipes and later mimicked the dog's bark pretty accurately. It was mildly terrifying. I forgot to mention she'd crawl on all 4 and would jump up against friends with her 2 front paws. I dated a girl somewhat like this in high school. She actually worked with a dog rescue and spent a lot of time around dogs. Outwardly normal and pretty reserved, but in private she did all of this, including licking my face like a dog. She grew out of it quickly, but it was a weird year. In high school there was a chubby, friendly guy who my friends and I would hang out with sometimes. One time in class we were talking and he tells me that he's a 300-year-old werewolf. I didn't laugh or make fun of him. Shit, what if he actually was? That's none of my business. He never brought it up again and we remained pals. Not the best of friends, but got along well. After graduation we never talked. Just social media friends. He had a kid. Life seems good. Maybe 2 years ago I saw his mugshot on the news for the killing, or assisting suicide, he claimed, of an 18-year-old girl. Holy shit, that took a turn. Right, reading this one I'm like, oh well, this one seems pretty harmly, oh my god. I was in the middle of trying to think of a joke response when I hit that last sentence. Never mind. Yes. Unfortunately, he claimed to have an invisible tail, and had a dream in which a great mother wolf revealed to him that he had the soul of a wolf. So he did what any sane person would do and started buying furs to masturbate onto. He showed me eBay links via Facebook and explained that it's one of the only 2 ways that he can get off, as well as started fucking dogs. Or so he claimed. Last I heard, he's in Alaska working with sled dogs, all the while he's engaged to a woman who he refuses to have sex with because human sex is disgusting to him. I need a drink just fucking writing that. Somebody might want to check on those dogs. It's a terrifying thought. There are people on Twitter who are openly into bestiality, and they sometimes post pictures of their pets. My ex-boyfriend was certain he was a vampire. He kept going to churches, cemeteries, all those kind of places. I failed at bringing him back to reality. He died of cancer in January this year. Not the ending I was expecting. Almost every story in this thread ends with either escapism or mental health issues. So maybe he knew for a while that he had cancer. Just a guess though. Met a girl in psych who believed she could communicate with dead people and tell people's future. One girl in there had just been through a bereavement and the other girl communicated with a dead person so they could talk one last time. We were too scared to confront her and tell her this was a totally fucked up thing to do to someone who was grieving. I thought she was batshit crazy, but she got let out of that place 2 months before I did. Make of that what you will. Whoa, I read that thinking psychology class. I think we all did. But she got let out of that place 2 months before I did. Threw me for a curve too. She cheated on her boyfriend occasionally, but would claim that it's not cheating because she would only do it during full moons, so it was her werewolf half doing it and not her? What was she cheating with Dobermans?
Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.